Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm a minute late. I just nearly forgot to put the link onto the Instagram page for people who find us that way. Good to see you all. Rita wins the first person to say hello prize today. Good to see you all. Rita, Fiona, Kay, Connie and John putting finishing touches to a quick and dirty mushroom pasta with black garlic. Yum. One day I'm going to have everything anyone drinks with Kate does. Well, you know, it's hard and it's nice to have everything sort of freshly cooked, and Pete's making my crepes as we speak. So I'm very lucky to every now and again quite often have some help, which is really nice. Hello. Who else? David. Hello, David. And Jeff and Sue. Yes, Sue's big birthday bash is this Saturday. Should be fun. Hello, Sharpie and Rod, you're back. Good to see you again. Alison with a slightly damp decanter. Yeah, so Alison, you're asking about drying decanters. This one is a bit mucky at the moment because it just gets a kind of a quick rinse and has like fingerprints and stuff. So it needs a proper clean one of these days soon. But just when the wine's finished, give it a rinse on the inside and on the outside. The hotter the water, the better really with a decanter, because then you can turn it upside down on a drying rack. And if it's hot, then the water tends to evaporate better than if it's cold. But then you have to wait for it to cool down before you can put wine in it. So it depends how quickly you need to use it. Who else is here? Daryl and Sue. Hello. Hello, Emily and Kevin. Shell and Andrew. Now, Shell, is it your birthday today or is it your birthday coming up this weekend? Anyway, happy birthday to you. I don't have anyone to sing with me today, so I'll just say happy birthday. Very exciting, all these birthdays. Richard and Jill are not staying with us tonight, so I don't have my scientists. Jeremy's gone to Ballarat for some kids' family concert thing that his kids are involved in. How selfish. I hope he's having a lovely time. And who else have we got? We've got Karen and Craig up the coast. Oh, how cool. Not sure how much the bottle was stood up today while traveling. Oh, so are you guys, there's Polly just sticking her head up to make sure that you know she's here. She's been in the dam. She looks like a drowned rat, don't you, Paul? Nareem Dye is here. I presume all the dyes are there. Hello, everyone. So Craig and Karen, are you guys caravanning? Or are you just having a little, are we decanting? We are absolutely decanting. You need to have brought a decanter, but we're doing special decanting. So don't start decanting until I show you what to do. So decanter, special bottle that I'm not going to shake up. So the reason that I'm saying be careful, because this is a special wine that got cold stabilized by being put in a very cold part of the cellar, and it took us by surprise. What's Shell saying? Leftover homemade risotto. A recipe we tried in Milan. We had to recreate. Not sure about the pear and taleggio, but it'd be delicious. Anyway, Emily, don't use too hot water to wash a decanter. You shattered your Riedel decanter when you were washing it from submerging it in too hot water. Oh, yes, that's a good tip. No caravan yet, traveling with friends. Okay, cool. Okay. Yesterday for Shell, Thursday for Andrew. Happy birthday, you guys. How gorgeous. Drinks with Kate is your birthday dinner. Good work. And we're doing champagne next week, Andrew, just for you. Okay, let's get this bottle open. So very gently, do you like the label that Pete made for it? I think he's getting very good at this kind of thing, isn't he? Now, what we have to do, this is not a rough decant. This is a very, very gentle decant, because if you've had your bottle standing up, then the sediment that we're going to talk about is going to be at the bottom. The sediment is tartrates, and I have some notes so that I can explain to you the science behind why we have tartrates in this wine. But they're also known as wine diamonds, which I think is really lovely, and you see them a lot in white wine that hasn't been cold stabilised, but you also see them every now and again in red wine when it's got very cold. So we're not quite sure how this got quite cold enough to cold stabilise in the bottle, and it's just a few bottles, it's just a few boxes from the top. Anyway, we'll see. Everyone will have different levels of clarity in their wine depending on how long you have stood it up. So I have a little decanting funnel as well, which is going to help me if I have any sediment coming through, and it just slows things down and aerates the wine a little bit. So you don't need one of these, but it just makes things a bit easier when you're doing a very gentle decant. So slow and gentle, everyone. Very gently, very slowly, and you're wanting to watch. What you're wanting to do is ideally, I'm going to stop for a minute, and it's not a good idea to stop midway through, but we've only just started. What you can do is if you've got your phone with you, then turn on the torch, and then you can put the torch shining up at your face. This is technical. Traditionally, sommeliers would use a candle, but these days we have a little torch on our phone. So you can put the torch on the table, and then you can look through the wine with the light behind it as you're pouring, and that should give you a better idea of when you're getting to solids. But you've got to have the wine between your eyes and the torch, otherwise you'll blind yourself with the light. So I'm having to concentrate extra hard on this to do it properly. So it's not my usual la-di-da, splosh it into the decanter kind of decant. It's very, very slow. You're just trickling it in, and you've got the light behind the neck of the bottle, and if it's shining through clearly and you can't see any sediment, then you're good to keep decanting. Now, I'm going to just reassure you that if some bits do get into the wine, it doesn't matter. It's not poisonous. It doesn't taste bad. It just gives you a bit of a crunchy texture to the wine, which is less than ideal, but it's not the end of the world. You should be able to get most of the wine out of the bottle into the decanter without any sediment coming through. And it's going to be interesting because we've only opened a couple of these bottles, and we may find that some of them don't have sediment at all. So when you've got about a glass of wine left in your bottle, try not to blind myself. So I've got about that much, can you see? About that much left in the bottle. I don't know if that helps or makes it worse. Then I'm just going to put a little bit more in the decanter, because I think it's more than a glass. And then you get your spare glass that you brought, and you give this a bit of a swoosh swoosh, and then you pour it all into the glass. Now, the reason we're doing that is so that we can have a look and see if we've got any crystals. And disappointingly, I wish Jeremy was watching, because disappointingly, I don't seem to have any crystals in my glass. Oh, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. So then if you get your glass and you shine your torch on it, you can see it looks like little sugar crystals or little tiny diamonds in the bottom of that glass. And they're just kind of sitting around the bottom. And they haven't had a chance to get very big. They're just little tiny sparkly crystals in there. Now, this phenomenon has created a lot of problems for people in the past, because a lot of people assume you found them. Good. I'm glad some of you found them. Tiny, teeny bit, said David. So that glass, you can drink that. Not a problem. Cody doesn't have any crystals in the glass, a few little ones still in the bottle. That's okay. You can drink that. But the idea was to have that glass there and just pop that aside for a moment. And then you've got a whole nearly full bottle of wine in your decanter that doesn't have any crystals in it. Oh, Sharpie and Rod. See, every bottle's going to be different, because every bottle's going to be different. Everyone's going to have different levels. So if you can work out how to take a picture with the light behind them and send them in, then I can compare and contrast what you got. If you can't, don't worry. But if you hold up your glass that you've decanted off next to your glass that's got crystals in it, even the ones that don't have very many crystals in them, you will find that first glass that's actually the last glass of the bottle that's got the crystals in it is a bit cloudier and has less clarity than the rest of the wine. So that's also a sign that we've got some very fine tartrates just floating around in the wine. And that's why if you only had the bottle standing up for a few hours or an hour or so before you decanted it, you probably have the crystals still dispersed throughout the wine. So there'll be less in that last glass and some more through the wine, even though you've decanted it really carefully. So that's the first lesson about these things. So these tartrate crystals, these are totally harmless. They don't change the taste of the wine, except perhaps they take a little bit of tartaric acid out of the final wine. And the reason for this is slightly complicated science, which is why I have some notes. Richard has written a whole essay about the magic of pH 3.55. I think I've mentioned this to you before. And this is part of that science. When you have tartaric acid in your grape juice and your wine, tartaric acid, like all organic acids, is a weak acid. If it's in an aqueous solution, a water solution, some of the potential hydrogen ions dissociate from the parent molecule. I'm reading this so that I get it right. Some of the hydrogen ions dissociate from the parent molecule, tartaric acid, and you end up with bitartrate. So that's hydrogen ion and one hydrogen ion and one, so HT. I presume that's tartaric. And a tartaric acid molecule, which has lost 2 hydrogens, is a tartrate, which is T2. So you've got your bitartrate and you've got your tartrate. Oh, I think we need to have a 3.55 worked into the merch. Absolutely, Alison. Who's texting me now? Let me turn off my ding. Picture, light tartrates. Oh, who's that? I don't have your phone number in my phone. Whoever just sent me the picture. Thank you, Peter. Peter's just brought me my food, which is crepes with bolognese sauce, which is going to be delicious. So you've got your tartaric acid, you've got your bitartrate, and when the wine gets cold, you'll get the potassium, you'll get the so you've also, taking a step back, this is why I need to read this rather than try and wing it. There's potassium ions in the solution as well. So when the wine gets cold, then the potassium and the hydrogen and the bitartrate have a tendency to get together, and they precipitate out of solution as a crystalline compound, which is potassium bitartrate, which is also known as cream of tartare. So you essentially have cream of tartare in your wine. It forms the crystals just because of the environment. It looks a lot prettier than your cream of tartare that you have in cooking, but that's essentially what you've got there. Whiz says Fiona. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really cool, very simple. It's quite a simple chemical reaction that means that when the wine gets cold, then those crystals tend to form because things stick together. And then when they stick together, they become solid rather than liquid, and they fall out of solution, and you get the crystals. There you go. Whew, I did science all by myself with notes. The thing I find really interesting is that lots of people see them and get really freaked out. They're like, oh my gosh, there's ground up glass in my wine. It's a problem. It's a danger. It's a hazard. So that's seen so often that there's even been a Master of Wine theory question saying, you know, you're a wine merchant and someone's just brought back a bottle of wine saying that they had glass in the wine, what do you do? And part of that question is testing to see if students understand about tartrate crystals in wine. Can they redissolve? Connie wants to know. I knew you'd ask me a question I couldn't answer. Once they've fallen out of solution into the wine because of that cold stabilisation. It's much more stable as potassium bitartrate than it is in its unjoined form. So no, they don't redissolve back out of the wine. No, they don't dissolve back out of the wine. They'll stay as crystals. And some wines will develop much more. So you'll see that a lot in German Rieslings that haven't been cold stabilised. But you wouldn't sell it, Alison says. You absolutely, maybe if you boiled the wine, yes, Fiona, that's highly possible. I think you need to get it hotter than is ideal for the wine to taste good. So, Nareem, hi. I've got your phone number now. I have to make sure that I put that in the thing. Oh, Pete's given me a different one. Thank you. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks very much. But we probably, so Alison, if all of this Pinot Noir 2024 had crystals in it, we might consider selling it with a little explanation that goes with it. And we have done that with white wine in the past. These days we cold stabilise white wine, and cold stabilisation of white wine in this climate is ridiculously expensive on electricity because you need to cool the wine down to just below 0 degrees to get it cold enough, and then you seed it with some cream of tartare, and that kind of sets off the reaction with whatever's floating around in there, and it all precipitates out before you put it into bottle. So you've got it in a big tank, you cold stabilise it, and then you have to warm it back up to room temperature before you can put it into a bottle, because if you put freezing cold wine into a bottle, then the volume is different and it makes the bottles, it makes it impossible to put the labels on the bottles, and it's all very tricky. So you cool it down and then you warm it back up again to room temperature to get those crystals out of white wine. And it's worthwhile doing, it's considered to be worthwhile doing with white wine because white wine goes into fridges, and often the fridges are very, very cold, around 0 degrees, plus or minus a degree or two. And so commercially speaking, it's preferred, particularly with winemaking in Australia. We see a bit less cold stabilisation in old world wines. So that's why you will have seen some wine diamonds or tartrate crystals in white wine from Germany, as I said before, other things like that. And sometimes, thank you, Fiona. See, I knew I'd have a scientist to help us. So adding a crystal to stimulate precipitation is called Ostwald ripening. More chemistry, thank you. I knew there was science there, and I knew what we did, and I couldn't remember what it was called, so thank you, Fee. So, yeah. Often the crystals get bigger and do sometimes look like shards of glass, or they look like ground up glass, and they freak people out. There's absolutely no problem with selling this wine. There's absolutely no problem with drinking the wine, but it's nicer if you don't have to worry about straining the last mouthful of wine or leaving the last mouthful of wine in your glass rather than getting the crystals. If you get to the crystals, then you can crunch through them, you can swallow them, they're not going to hurt you. So that's all the chemistry for tonight. Let's taste the wine, see what it looks like. What are other people saying? So Shell's talking about a bit of truffle dust, is that right? Added a little truffle dust to the crepes, and and she's having a brain explosion. That sounds rather cool. Cotty said, I used to think the crystals had something to do with the age, maybe because over time they settle. Often, if you've got a wine that's been in the cellar and it's a white wine, and then you put it in the fridge to get it cold before you drink it, Cotty, then the crystals will form then. So if you've got an older wine and you put it in the fridge and you get crystals in it, that maybe is why you were thinking about it. It's not so much that they settle, but with red wine, you do get other precipitates as wine ages, and that's about the tannins polymerizing. So you'll get tannins that become solid and stick to the bottom and the sides of the bottle as well. And that's why we traditionally gently decant old red wine. Hello, Jeff, how you going? Okay, going well with the crepes with onion, bacon, Swiss brown and fresh parmesan. Yum, delicious. Craig wants to know which of the Pinots this is. Good question, Craig. It is the 2024 Estate Pinot Noir. We had about 20 cases that didn't get labels on them, and they got put in the cold part of the cellar on a pallet by themselves, and this is what happened. The rest of the 20, so we had a look at so the reason we discovered this was that we had this stashed in the back of the shed, and we were looking at, we've got this in half bottles as well, and our distributor wanted some half bottles. We'd moved from the 22, which I think was the last Pinot that we had in half bottles, and we had this, but I hadn't tasted it to see whether it was drinking okay yet. So Jeremy got me a bottle of this, and we poured it out, and we went, oh, it's all cloudy, and it's got all, oh my God, it's got bits in it. And Jeremy worked out what had happened, and we got another bottle and the same thing from the top of the pallet. But I think as we go down the pallet, the crystals seem to be getting less. So it must have been the very top that got super cold for some reason. The half bottles we got some back from the warehouse, and they look perfectly delicious. Drinks with Jeff, absolutely, Pete. Do I think it changes the flavour profile? Fiona wants to know. I don't think it does, Fee, but that will be the next experiment for us to do, because we've got some more of this, and we can maybe down the track, maybe early next year, we can do a bottle of this and a half bottle of or we could do a bottle of this and a bottle of the labelled Pinot Noir that was stored off-site, and we can have a look at them and see if they look different. I'm going to taste them together before I send those out to you guys, because they might taste exactly the same and it might be really boring. But I think it's a good question to ask. But it's not it's tiny amounts of tartrates that are precipitating out of the wine. So some people will say that maybe it does reduce the acid a little bit, and some people will say it doesn't make any difference to the taste. Maybe it just depends how sensitive you are to these things. All right, let me taste this wine. I'm talking. I really love the 2024 Pinot, and we won't be releasing it for nearly another year. We started selling the 23 a couple of months ago now, and I think we've got about 12 months worth of stock at current depletion rates. So it needs a bit more time in bottle, I think, but it is delicious just as it is. Pete's just reminded me that the 23's just gone up on the shop. We had the 22 on the website until yesterday. We still have the 22 on the website as well as the 23, because we have only a little bit of the 22 left. So that's my spruik for you. I'm going to send out an email probably tomorrow or Monday, letting everybody on the mailing list know that last chance to buy the 22. The 23 is delicious. The 24, as you can see, is looking delightful right now. Will be even better in 6 to 12 months. I'm going to have some of my beautiful savoury crepe that Peter's made me. That's delicious, Pete. Thank you. If I do say so myself. My spaghetti, my bolognese sauce, your crepes. It's a match made in heaven. Very good with this wine as well. Okay, let's talk about the flavours of this wine, apart from it being charming. I think the 24's got a real red cherry fruit kind of character to it. It's got a brightness and a freshness, which will settle down a little bit with a bit more bottle age. It's got some nice savoury herbal notes. I get a bit of, and I don't think it's just the bolognese sauce talking, but I get a bit of oregano and rosemary sort of chopped on the nose of this wine, and on the palate there's a bit more spiciness to it. It's got a little bit of black pepper, but it's got sort of a bit of, usually I would say something with this sort of level of a Pinot from us that's this red fruited, it would usually have more sort of Chinese spice characters, but I'm getting more of those sort of Moroccan cardamom and cinnamon. Sorry, the cockatoos are outside being absolute dorks because it's really windy out there and they're getting almost blown off the balcony. They're quite hilarious. They're making me laugh. But yeah, there's this kind of this red cherry, almost cherry drop kind of aromatic to it. Lovely spices, lovely, and it goes really, really well with the meatiness of the bolognese sauce. Still quite crunchy tannins and acid, but working really well. I'm just going to shove another bit of crepe in my mouth, so give me 2 secs. Now is the time for you to do a little experiment and see whether the wine that you decanted off the top smells or tastes any different from that last glass of wine with the crystals in it. It shouldn't, right? It's all the same wine. But I always think it does. And I'm trying to work out whether it's my imagination or whether having those tartrate crystals in there gives it a different aromatic profile. The decanted wine, for me, has a bit of a fresher, crunchier red fruit character to it. And the wine with the crystals is a bit darker and a bit sort of jubier. And Pete, do you want to taste this as well? Sure. And because I've swelled it up, there's crystals all swirling through it. It smells darker, but it tastes sort of more bitter and a little bit more acidic, which is really interesting. Very different, but you haven't been swirling the last glass. Exactly, Shell. So maybe it's just the air affecting it. But for me, the one with the crystals just seems a little bit less harmonious than the other wine. Could be my imagination. What do you reckon, Pete?
Yeah, I can't tell.
Pete can't tell any difference at all. So there you go. Bit of pepper in your mouth. It doesn't help once you start with the food and stuff. Nose is definitely different, says Karen. Decanted is deeper flavours and smoother. Yeah, I think so. I can't tell you the science for that. Fee might be able to tell us. Fee, do you think it should taste? Do you think it should change the flavour profile, having the crystals in there or not? Different finish in the mouth. Alison, did you get a mouthful of crystals? Because that's going to change. That's just going to change the texture, isn't it? It does seem a little harsher, I think, Sharpie and Rod as well. But again, we're all very susceptible to suggestion when we're tasting wine. I'm just not sure whether it would only change if we thought there was some dissolution, which seems unlikely. I think that's right. So the crystals are fairly stable in the solution. Maybe if you get a mouthful of crystals, they're gonna taste different, and it's probably worth just having a bit of what you can do. And if you've got a funnel like me, I'm going to put some of that wine in the crystally glass back into, oh God, I'm going to make a mess, back into the bottle. Oh, I'm spilling wine everywhere. I'm trying to get down to my crystals. Oh, there we go. See? Can you see them on the glass? And there, Alison, I was teasing a little bit, but sorry, no crystals in your mouth. If you taste the crystals, they taste a little bit salty, and they taste much more savoury than the wine. So if you want to have a play with that, feel free. If you don't, just drink the wine and enjoy. I think I agree with you, Alison, that the textures are different and the aromas are different and the flavours are different, but it's not logical that they should be. So we might all just be fooling ourselves. It might be because we've been sitting here swirling this and that's been sitting there with no swirling. I don't know. There go the cockatoos. Can you guys hear them? They're carrying on like crazy. It's a windy old day out there, isn't it? Crazy. Okay, on the science, Nareem, the story about the old shipwrecked search that found decade-old wines at the bottom of the sea, presuming that could get this result too. So yeah, if they're in the sea and they get cold, then you'll definitely get some precipitation of crystals in a shipwreck. And there are wineries who are trialling aging their wine underwater to keep them cooler. It's absolutely true. So if everyone, yes, we're all hearing the. Why would it be? Would it be just because one was decanted and the glass not? Well, I decanted, Cotty, I decanted all of mine into the decanter and then into the glass. So you're still getting that aeration process, whether you dump it in the glass or whether you put it through the decanter. But yeah, you could be right. It could be just that it got more aerated, particularly as I was using the funnel, which sort of aerates things a bit more. So yeah, I think that's probably more likely to be the reason for the difference in the wines than the fact that the crystals are making the wine taste different, because the crystals are in all of the wine. That we've just settled them out in the bottom. Nareem saying, I did hear about a winery who was trialling leaving their wine submerged for a while to see what the reduced air movement via cork probably just end up like Stelvin Silver wine. Absolutely. I think it's like keeping the wine in a cool, in a very cool, vibration-free cellar under Stelvin, probably, undersea. But there are people who are playing with that, and there are talks about people. There are, as you say, stories about shipwreck wine, particularly champagne that was found in shipwrecks has been underwater for close to 100 years. That was very fancy. There are cave wines as well, says Kay. Cave wines? Yes. So yeah, wines that get stuck in caves and that get cold from that as well. So yeah, absolutely. The rain's trying to arrive, Alison. Yeah, well, no, it's still very windy here, but I think we had a bit of rain earlier when we were walking the dogs, but not very much. It was quite nice actually, because it's been stuffy today, hasn't it? Need a bit of rain, a bit of a cool change now would be nice. So, team, as we let this wine kind of open up, and as I say, it's younger than we'd usually show it to you, but we thought it would be really fun to have a look at the higher pressure as well, says David. Yeah, I think that's probably right, underwater. Whether that's going to affect the aging of the wine if it's under screw cap, it'll probably get rusty. But yes, Sharpie and Rod, back when you said earlier, what's the protocol when this happens in a restaurant? That's a good question, Rod and Sharpie. I mean, obviously, red wine wouldn't usually get these crystals in it, but you'll often get the last mouthful of wine that does have bits in it, whether they be tartrate crystals or whether they be that's sort of my thought, Fiona. Sorry, I'll come back to that. In a restaurant, if it's just the bottom, it's just the last glass of the wine that's a bit gritty, you can be grumpy that they didn't decant it. But a good restaurant should offer to decant a wine, particularly if they know that there are issues with tartrates. Otherwise, you just kind of need to let it settle to the bottom of the glass and drink it through gritted teeth to strain it. You can probably, if you said to if the problem was really intense, then you could probably ask the restaurant if they had a sieve or something that they could strain it through into another glass to get the bits out. Usually, it wouldn't be a huge problem, and you'd just go, oh well, time for another bottle. 26 and windy there, Nareem. Yep. Okay. So Fiona was asking, would the wine see the pressure? Or just the glass cork. This is the thing, would the pressure change inside the bottle by being deeper in the ocean, or is it just the pressure of the water pressing in on the cork? I don't know. I did not do physics in year 12, and I feel like that is a question that I am not equipped to answer. But there's a lot of lovely stories that come behind these plans for aging under the sea and all of that kind of thing. So, sorry? In space, yes. Yep. Is there anyone doing that yet that you know of? Yeah? Pete says yes. There's you can store your wine on the space station if you'd like to as well. It's theoretically mostly a closed system. The cork might compress. Yeah, that's possible, Fiona. But if the cork compresses, then surely that's going to risk letting wine out and seawater in, which is not ideal. Kay, customer's always right, give me a new one, and the staff share at the end of shift. Yeah, well, if you're not happy with the wine because it's got bits in it, then you can absolutely politely point that out to your wine waiter, and they should sort you out with something else. For sure. Don't ever be afraid to sort of, if you've ordered a glass of wine or a bottle of wine and you just don't like it, but you don't have, there's not like a fault or there's not a problem with it, then that's not a good reason to send the wine back. But if it was recommended to you and you bought it feeling concerned about it, then that's the time when you kind of say to the wine waiter, I don't like this wine, and if they're any good, they'll swap it over. But if there's something that's wrong with it, or if there's bits in it or whatever, then you can absolutely have a talk to them about sending it back. So, sorry, this smells too good to not eat. I love this wine right now too, Shell. I think it'll be more delicious though in 6 months' time. Hard to send back when it's BYO. Yes, that's true, Nareem. Yeah, if you brought it, it's your issue. Also, sometimes I think you just got to go, oh well, that's 6/7 of this bottle was delicious, and the last glass is got stuff in it. So just that's just the tax on the wine. If the wine was delicious. Michael Myers does a great piece on the theatre of wine in a restaurant. He does too, Kay. That's absolutely right. Michael Myers or Michael McIntyre? Michael McIntyre does one as well, about how everyone doesn't really know about wine but have to pretend that they do in a restaurant. He's very funny. I love the sort of liqueur cherry character that's coming up on the nose as the air gets into it. It's really good. Yeah. Well, funny story about that, Kate. My uncle is called Michael McIntyre, and he is not the comedian. He's a mathematician. He's retired, but he's still like a mathematician at Cambridge University. And last time I saw him was a few years ago, and he said, I Googled myself, as people want to do, and he said, I found this guy who's got the same name as me, and he calls himself a comedian, and he's not funny at all. And I said, well, actually, he's very funny, Michael. Maybe not your humour, but yeah, no, he didn't like it. Grumpy. Myers wears a hockey mask. Thanks, Karen. Halloween. Oh, yeah, great. I don't watch those movies. I get freaked out too much by horror movies. But yeah, I think this wine, without the crystals in it, is bright and gorgeous and voluptuous enough already that that's a really lovely drink. You just have to write some little notes and remember what it looked like, and we're going to come back to the 2024 Estate Pinot Noir next year and see how it's looking. So I think that'll be really fun, because it's a little tart still, and that will kind of sort itself out over time for sure. All right, team, while we're finishing up our Pinot, let's have a talk about what's happening next week, because I'm deviating from the plan. As mentioned last week, I've had an offer that was too good to be refused from our friend John Noble, who suggested that he send me some champagne, and we talk about champagne next week, because next Thursday is Champagne Day Eve. So next Friday is Champagne Day. So we can get started early, have some champagne, work ourselves up to the next day, Friday, where we'll probably have to have some more champagne because it's Champagne Day. But I thought it was such a lovely idea, and I knew that you guys wouldn't mind. So next week we're doing champagne, and the wine that John has sent me is the Charles Heidsieck Blanc de Blanc. So it's 100% Chardonnay. It will be, and that will be the theme, Blanc de Blanc wines. If you guys want to get hold of a bottle of the Charles Heidsieck Blanc de Blanc, I know they have it at the Prince Wine Store. I'm sure you will find it at other places as well. John's threatening to send something else as well. So when I find out whether that's happening or not, I will let you guys know with an email on Monday. But you may want to go out and buy some champagne on the weekend. So if you're looking for a bottle of champagne, Blanc de Blanc, any Blanc de Blanc will do from Champagne, but I'm going to be opening Charles Heidsieck Blanc de Blanc. So there's a little heads up for you. Actually, Pete, would you mind? I've put it in the glass room in the wine fridge on the top shelf. Would you mind grabbing it so people can see the label? Thanks. So good having a lovely assistant. It's going to be such fun. And looking at 100% Chardonnay champagne, I'll have to think of a really good wine and food match. You know that I tend to fall back on the old chicken sandwich, which we can absolutely do, but I'll see if I can think of something else a little bit more exciting than that. But so Blanc de Blanc champagne. Thanks, Pete. It's a sexy modernistic label. Thank you. So that's it. If you're looking for it in the shop, that's what we're going to be doing next week. Charles Heidsieck, Blanc de Blanc. Yum, yum. Yes, we could do it. Thanks, Pete. We could absolutely do oysters, Rita. Is all Blanc de Blanc 100% Chardonnay? Almost all Blanc de Blanc is 100% Chardonnay, Alison, but there are old varietals that are allowed in Champagne that are not Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Meunier, and Pinot Blanc is one of them. So I've had a Champagne that was 100% Pinot Blanc from a very small producer, but most of the Blanc de Blanc, almost I would say 99.9% of Blanc de Blanc is Chardonnay, and what you'll get from your regular high quality independent bottle shop will almost inevitably be Chardonnay. So we'll stick with that. Very happy. Love champagne, love Blanc de Blanc, love oysters, love next Thursday, Karen. I think that pretty much sums it up rather well. So on that note, what else was there anything else that I had to say to you guys? I've said happy birthday to Michelle and Andrew. Was there anyone else having a birthday this week? We seem to be going through a lot of birthdays recently. So, I did mean to say, and she's not joined us online live because Steve's away, but Linda, who works for us, who a lot of you know, celebrated the fact today that she has worked at Moorooduc for 25 years. So next time you see Linda, and when Linda watches this, congratulations, Linda, for 25 years at Moorooduc Estate. Pretty amazing. Jeff McKeon, it's not your birthday, that's Sue. Sue, we've already said happy birthday to you. We said happy birthday to you last week. Fiona, if I could only drink one grape. I agree. Chardonnay has to be my desert island grape variety. As long as I get to drink champagne and really good Chardonnay from all around the world, I'd be very, very happy. Absolutely. Pretty amazing, hey guys. So Linda, everyone's congratulating you. I know you're not here at the moment, but you said you were going to watch it later on with Steve, maybe tomorrow. Bravo. A lovely place to work indeed. Well, we had a little glass of fizz earlier and some pastries that Linda, knowing how hopeless we are at organising things, brought herself. So thank you, Linda, for the pastries. Thank you for the 25 years. Good work. When we've done 25 years of Drinks with Kate, we'll celebrate with fizz and pastries as well. But we'll have Blanc de Blanc champagne next week while we're waiting for that to happen. All right, team. I am going to love you and leave you. I will pass on all your lovely messages to Linda. She will be reading them eventually. Oh, she's there. Hello, Linda. She's listening. Very good. Oh, gosh, nearly spilt my wine. All right, kids, got to go. Love you lots. Linda, you just got in. There you go. Well, everyone's written lovely things. We're very impressed with your 25 years. We've had a lovely tasting. The wine looks great. when we get to release the 2024 Estate Pinot Noir, don't worry, you won't have to decant it to get it off the crystals, because it's just these few bottles that were a bit, that got cold. So, yeah, interesting science, interesting wine stuff. It just goes to show you don't need to worry if there are bits in your wine. As long as they look crystally and not like a dead frog, then you're okay. Everyone, have a lovely, lovely evening. I'll see you next week with Bubbles. I will send you an email on Monday with all the deets. But you've seen the bottle that I'm going to be drinking, Blanc de Blanc champagne, oysters, maybe a chicken sandwich or two. I think it's all going to be going on. Take it easy, guys. Cheers. And thanks for the crepes, Pete. They're great. No worries. Thanks. See you guys.